I thought it was really important to have this documented, because to have a documentation of making the album and showing the process of going through it and how it's all come together, I think is really special given what's going on in my life right now. And also I think it's very important as well to let other people see how you can still achieve things in life with cancer, but also to see how you overcome obstacles as well, because living with cancer is not easy. So it's to show the good side and the bad side, and how you can still keep on living. And I think if you put that on film, it's a great way for people to be able to see it a lot better, because I think cancer is misunderstood by a lot of people and they don't really get to see behind the scenes. And this is a way to really get to see what goes on behind the scenes.
Jackie Storrar was one of the best country singers Scotland ever produced. She travelled the world with husband Steve performing, and Jackie was an accomplished broadcaster too. As well as being a colleague, she was also a wonderful friend. In 2008, just after she'd enjoyed success with her unlikely cover of Motorhead's Ace of Spades, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Her life changed from that moment, but she battled hard and was given the all clear. In 2014, the cancer returned. This time, it was incurable. During one of many conversations I had with her and Steve, it was clear Jackie wanted to make one final album. She told me she had so many things she wanted to do and say, and wanted to share her experience with others. She was determined to pack as much into her remaining days as possible. As a filmmaker, I wanted to show what the real Jackie Storrar was like, a courageous, multi-talented person who touched many lives so positively. This is Jackie's story.
I actually felt my own lump, and it was in my breast. And it was over a Christmas period, and it was probably the longest wait in my life, because all the hospitals had closed down for the Christmas period. And at the beginning of January 2010, I had to go to hospital and go through all the normal checks, like a mammogram and a biopsy. And I realised very quickly there was something wrong. And the doctors had said to me that they were pretty sure that I had cancer, and it would take another 2 days for the test to come back. And I think that was probably the longest wait of our lives. We were obviously hoping for the best, yet fearing the worst. As soon as cancer is mentioned, you go into a place that you have never been in your life before. It was a totally different ball game. And 2 days later, we did go back to the hospital, and we had a rather long meeting with my consultant, and it was confirmed that I had breast cancer, stage 3. During that time, we had lots of questions to ask, We had lots of new feelings to deal with. And we had worries like we'd never had before. And of course, the ultimate worry that I think everyone has when they're told they have cancer is, am I going to die? It was just one of the questions that goes through your mind. And unfortunately, the doctors can't really give you an answer. They can give you 99% what they think is going to happen, looking at your results, but nobody can ever really tell you for sure what's going to happen. And I've got to say that it wasn't easy, but I did get through it. And I got through it with the help as well of Steve and some very, very good friends who looked after me. And even the nurses and doctors at the hospital were looking after me so well. And nowadays they've got so much medication to help you get through chemo, to save you sort of being sick all the time or needing a sick bucket, as we all think of chemotherapy. But it was about 6 months of chemo, of which during that time I lost my hair, which was a big thing for me as well. It's a big thing for any woman. And a lot of women, I think, treat it differently. Some women don't mind being bald, and they see it as being a kind of, well, I'm going to beat this and I don't care how I look. I'm going out there and I'm going to fight this. And, which is great if that's the way they want to handle it. For me, I wanted to get my wig. And that became a very important part for me. Well, I've tried this red wig on, and I've also tried a mango one, which is very similar to my last wig. And as much as I love this and I think I can pull it off and it's great, I've decided that I've got a rough time to go through in the next few months, and this might just be a little bit too flamboyant when I'm having some sick days. So I'm going to go for the mango one. And I've decided that after chemo's finished, if everything works out really well, I'm going to come back, I'm going to get this, and I'm going to party and have a new look and a big celebration. That's my decision today. So can I put any sort of product on this? Because I haven't really done very much with the other mango at all, because she just used to...
Jackie certainly loved her wigs, and they became very much part of her life.
I did recover from months of treatment. I did recover, and the doctors were really delighted. I'd gone in for my sort of 6 monthly consultations, and each time I was sent away with the good news that I was doing really well, and they thought I'd beaten it. And 2 years later I discovered that it had come back, and we went back to the hospital, and very quickly they had me in for another scan, and I knew by their faces that there was something wrong. I think when you've been in hospital that length of time and you get to sit and talk to doctors and nurses, you actually get to know by their expressions when there's something wrong. And I realised very quickly that there was something wrong, and it was confirmed that yes, the cancer had come back. I realised then very quickly that this was a different ballgame. This was something completely different from the first time. And I think the first time round there was a lot of hope that I was going to get my surgery and it was all going to get removed, and that was it, I was going to recover. This time round I didn't feel that sense of hope quite so much, and the fact that it was incurable just sent me into a completely different place. And I've got to say, the first couple of weeks trying to digest that news was just unbelievable. It was so difficult, and I felt lost, as did Steve. The two of us were like lost children. We didn't know what to do. And that's when Maggie's, the cancer care centre, really came into its own. And although we'd used them in the past, we went back again and really, really relied on them heavily. And went into counselling for many months after that, because we were just in a place that we just didn't know what to do. And we were very strong people, mentally together we're a strong couple, but it just didn't prepare us for what we had to face. So we've had 2 very long years now of treatments that haven't worked, and we're now on to the last treatment coming up very shortly. I'm going to be trying another chemotherapy, and it's in the hands of the gods now, as they say. Well, Here we are at Maggie's. I've been coming here for 6 years along with Steve, and they've been a great source of help to us, and I think today we should go in and see why.
Jackie wanted everyone to be aware of how important the support of Maggie's cancer care was to her and others.
I know one of the hardest things about coming into Maggie's is walking through that door for the very first time. And it's very difficult for me to find a word to describe who I am. I'm not a patient, I'm an individual, and that is the great thing about coming into Maggie's. But how do you get that across to other people who want to come and visit for the first time?
Yeah, because I think there is an apprehension about people coming through the door. They maybe don't know what Maggie's is. And Maggie's is here for anybody at any stage of cancer and their family and their friends, anybody affected, to get support as they come through the door. So as somebody walks through the door, you know, the buildings are all meant to be light, uplifting spaces, and one of our main things is giving people a warm welcome as they come through the door, and then working out how we can help them and what we can do. But you're right, coming through the door can be quite a nerve-wracking thing for people to do.
Although you must come into the centre most days and get a lot of inspiration from the people who come in and the people you get to chat to, and they're going through such tough times with their diagnosis, it must be difficult though for you to go home at the end of the day and then just shut off and go back to your own life. I mean, how do you manage that?
Actually, one person asked me, surely that'd be a very depressing job to work in, and actually asked, you know, is that not where everybody goes to die? So there was a real misconception by some people who didn't know what a Maggie's was, but really it's the polar opposite. This is one of the best jobs in the world, and everybody who works in a Maggie's feels that. And actually it's a very uplifting job. We're helping people to enable themselves to find hope and strength. We're not prescribing things, it's actually about tapping into people's own strengths and empowering them and enabling, and that's what we're all about here. And so, you know, actually it's a really upbeat job, and, you know, I meet the best people like yourself and Steve, are the best people ever on a daily basis. You know, we have no idea who's going to walk through the door, and that's an amazing part of the job, to meet a whole broad spectrum of life coming through the door, you know.
And baby, you're not mine. We've got something and it sure is fine. Let's take our love one night at a time. There's one thing that we both agree. I like you and baby you like me. Let's take our love one night at a time.
Here we are at a place called Fernie Castle, which is the site of where we got married, which was probably the best day of my life. Here we are, our very own stag do. So there we go.
And what date was that, darling?
She always does this because she thinks I can't remember. It was the 7th of June.
2003.
That's right.
And it was slightly warmer than this, but do you know, I don't mind when we come back to Fernie Castle because it's just such a beautiful site.
Yeah.
Lots of lovely memories.
It was great. It was
Yeah.
a wonderful, wonderful time. Yeah.
All I'm thinking is that you've worked with many animals in your time, but can I ask you if you've ever worked with chickens?
I guess it proves I can still attract the birds after all.
The birds
Yeah.
are definitely
Look at
pecking
that.
at your ankles.
Look at that.
What did they say? Never work with children and animals.
I know, honestly, behave. Go on, cheer yourself up, off you go. Come on, come on, come on.
One of my favourite memories was after we got married was walking through that main door.
Yeah.
And we were greeted by 50 of our most wonderful friends and family. And they were about to cover us in rice. But it was great. And the sun was out, unlike today.
It was one of those days where everything went right. All the guests, they were all entertainers. They were dancers, singers, musicians, comedians. And so we didn't have a band because we didn't need one, because everybody just decided to get up and make our own entertainment.
We had our own cabaret.
Yeah, exactly. It was a terrific day where everything went right. Just a great place. It was a wonderful day and we had a fantastic time, and
Yeah.
it was the beginning of a great life together.
It most certainly was.
It was.
We'd got a job working on a cruise ship as a duo. We were a duo act. And it was just a lovely ship that was perfect for us. We got to travel the world. We had a career together. We were best friends. You know, we had a marriage. We could be together all the time. It was just a very wonderful, charmed life that we had, that we totally enjoyed. And it was out there for us. We could probably have it for the next 5-10 years should we wanted it. And we were just about to set off on another 5-month contract. And that was when I went into hospital to get the lump checked, because I thought, I don't want to be somewhere like, you know, Australia or somewhere, and suddenly I get told I've got cancer again. I wanted to be close to home if there was anything that had gone wrong. And literally within 24 hours, instead of packing to go away on a world cruise, I was packing to go off to hospital to go in for more chemotherapy. No one could ever imagine what it's like unless you've been in that position yourself. That I think is what we both found so difficult. It was just like our life had just been swept away.
I don't wanna stop loving you, but I will. I don't like waking up alone, but I will. You're the only one who can make my heart stand still. I don't want to let you go, but I will.
One of her favourite places was Ravenscraig Beach in Fife, a place she often came to be alone with her thoughts.
And there's something wonderful about looking out to sea. It's a sort of symbol to make you realise that there is a big world out there. There's still opportunities. And even with cancer, there's still life. Life goes on, and we got to make the most of it. And there's also good reasons I come down here as well. I love going for romantic walks with Steve, and we've had plenty of these, and it doesn't matter what the weather is, it's just still a beautiful place to come. And one of the other things about this beach is that I did a photo shoot here about 6 years ago when I released my single Caledonia. And of course, Caledonia is a very special Scottish folk ballad. And I wanted something that would represent Scotland, and what better way than a fantastic ruined castle that's sitting up there on the hillside. And I came down here on the beach and did a fabulous photo shoot for that single. So yeah, there's lots of great memories on Ravenscraig Beach for me. I love it.
Having a bucket list and truly being able to do stuff that you have wanted to do all your life and you make it happen, that really is a focus of when you have cancer, because you know that time is not a luxury. And there's a lot of people that will say to me, yeah, but we can walk out the front door and be run over by a bus. And that's absolutely true. Nobody knows what's ahead of them. But what I would say to that is it? Yes, but you still get up every morning with that freedom of that you are going to go out and enjoy your day, whether it be at work, whether it be with friends, whatever it is, and you do not have to think about cancer or dying. Where when you're living with cancer, every single day, it's on your mind. Today we've come all the way from Kirkcaldy across to Edinburgh to the Western General Hospital, and today is the day I have my nerve block, and basically I've had nerve pain in my arm and hand for the last few months. This week has been so bad that they've had to give me an emergency appointment. And I gotta say, my stomach's going round like a tumble dryer today. I'm not looking forward to this. They put an injection in here in my neck and they freeze all the nerve all the way down my arm. But hopefully at the end of this, I'm going to get some relief. So it doesn't come without its complications. So fingers crossed today that it's a successful procedure. And I'll see you hopefully in an hour or two. So come on, let's go in and get it done. Glad it's over. I can't speak. My voice is gone husky.
It'll feel better later.
Jackie wanted to share her experience of the good days and the bad days which she went through, coming to terms with the side effects of chemotherapy and the emotional upheaval of day-to-day living. But she tackled it all with a sense of humour. She told me, when the going gets tough, the tough go shopping.
Have you got your credit card with you?
Yes, I have. We'll spend quite a lot of money.
Mum and I love going shopping.
We just love it.
Lots of girlies
Love it.
days.
Girly days.
And
Yes.
this is me hopefully feeling a wee bit better now on this round of chemo, and well, we just want to have a good time today, don't we?
we are. We're going to have a good
By
time.
the way, I spy a big casserole dish. Is that for us by any chance?
Yes, I made that for the two of you for your
Really?
dinner tonight. Yes, would you like
See,
to see it?
This is what I love
Look at that.
about having a mum who does wonderful traditional home cooking. And there's a big casserole pot there. What's underneath it? Is it
There's a great big pot of mince, and there's turnip, and there's carrots, and there's new potatoes, and there's broccoli.
How do you feel about this whole project? Obviously, the album, which is very, very special indeed to both of you. Jackie says, that she wants this to be her legacy. And putting all your efforts into this as well, something very, very positive at the end of it.
It's kind of bittersweet in the sense that, at the moment we have a working title for the album, but it's not been finalised. So at the moment, all the project files on the computers just sort of say Legacy Album, because in effect that's what it is. It's Jackie wanting to leave a legacy behind, and it's really her wanting to put down some of the songs that have meant something to her. One of the songs on the album is a song called The Future's Ours Tonight, which is actually the very first song that we ever wrote together. We were kind of getting very friendly, but nothing had kind of quite happened. And I remember at the time thinking, I'm not sure whether I really want to kind of get involved in all this. And so she went away and wrote these lyrics for this song, and she said, could you put some music to this song? And I read these lyrics, and it was very clear that these lyrics, she was trying to tell me something in the lyrics of this song. And I remember I sort of sat up one morning, like I think 2:00 in the morning, and I found a piano in one of the restaurants that was closed down somewhere, and switched a little light on, and I sat up for about an hour and a half, and I wrote the music for this song. And the next day, and it's a beautiful song that's always meant an awful lot to us, but never got released. So consequently, we're actually going to finally record this song properly, and that's going to be on the album. So it's kind of, all the songs have a story to them.
You and I, two lonely people haunted by the past, afraid of letting go, still holding on to yesterday instead of for today. Now it's time to trust our heart again, let it lead the way. So come, let's
guess this project is giving you both a lot of strength as well, which can take your mind off a lot of the horrible things that are going on at the moment.
Absolutely, there's no two ways about it. It is a bittersweet project to be involved in. The sweet side of it is how wonderful everybody has been, how many people there are who want to get involved. I mean, we've got musicians literally all around the world who are playing on this album. It is a bittersweet thing because obviously I would much rather know that Jackie and I were together, for forever, rather than be making this album. But I know that it would be something that would be concrete, that would be left behind as an important milestone of this is who Jackie was. And from that point of view, I want to make sure that we make the best possible album that we possibly can.
Beauty is within grasp. Hear the highlands call. The last mile is upon us. I'll carry you if you fall. I know the armor's heavy now. I know the heart inside is beautiful just over the wild mountainside. Snow is falling all over out of clear blue skies. Crow is flying high over. You and I are gonna wander high up where the air is rare. Wild horses ride is beautiful, just roaming the wild mountains.
I said to Jackie when we got married that one of my big jobs in life is going to be to make you laugh every day. And even through all of this, I try as much as I possibly can to make her laugh as much as possible. And she makes me laugh, but in her case, it's probably more by accident than design. But, we are definitely a team, in the classic sense of what marriage, I think, is supposed to be. She completes me and I complete her. And it's one of the things that I find so difficult is to imagine what my life will be like without her, because we are a perfect team. I don't, it's not something I'm trying to spend too much time thinking about, because that will happen. But at the moment, I'm focused on making her as happy and as comfortable as I possibly can, and making this album as good as it can possibly be. Right now, it's a challenge for her to just kind of get through the days, but she meets that challenge, and she makes me proud of her every day. I am always in awe of how well she does, and I like to think that there's a little bit of support from and energy from me that buoys her up. We do the best that we can. We came across a really great singer-songwriter called Alan West, who lives down in the West Country, down in England. And he works with this particular guy called Steve Black. And Steve Black sort of said to us, look, we really must get together and do a writing session sometime. And we said, oh, absolutely. But of course, we live in Scotland and he lives in, Devon, Cornwall, somewhere around there. So it's not exactly handy for the tube. So it got quite difficult for us to get together, and it just sort of never happened. And then when we were down for the awards ceremony where Jackie was inducted into the Hall of Fame, he said, we must get together and write those songs we were going to write. And I basically had to take him to one side and say, look, I don't think we're going to be able to have the energy to do this. So I think you're going to have to write it yourself. So he basically communicated with Jackie, and Jackie sent him just an A4 sheet of things that she wanted to say. And he came back, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks later, with this song that is one of the most emotional things I've ever heard in my life. And if we only were to record that one song, that would be enough, I think.
I stand here tonight with songs in my heart, with memories to share, emotions to bear, before the end starts. With you on my side, I have nothing to hide. It's time for the truth. I have no more to lose or keep deep inside. This night it feels right to tell you the fear is so real. This night I'm free and I'm here to admit what I feel. You're with you on this night. I've done what I can. I've loved and I've cried. We've laughed and we've danced to the beat of a chance. Now the chance is denied, but still I walk on, with you all in my soul. I'm amazed through the haze in a glorious way. You've been there when I fall.
Well, here we are at Carnegie Hall in Dunfermline, and this place holds lots of memories for me. When I was a child, I used to come to Dunfermline and spend all my school holidays here with my grandparents. And the amount of times I used to go by Carnegie Hall and see posters up for some of all the acts way back in the 70s. There was like Lena Martell, we had the Nolan sisters, we had Dana, Joe Longthorne, all these people. And I used to think one day I would just love to play Carnegie Hall. I didn't know if it would happen for me or not, but it did. Quite a few years later, but I did my very first theatre concert through the doors through there into the main auditorium, and it was a great experience. And just to think that so many years later that I was able to come here and fulfill one of my childhood dreams, that was pretty special. My one great wish would be to be able to do one last concert. I'd love to get back on that stage and have my band around me and relive that moment again if I could. But I don't really know what long-term future is going to have for me, if I'd be able to do that or not. So yeah, coming back here, it really does stir up a lot of old memories. I mean, you could maybe say they're bittersweet now, but that night here will stay with me forever.
Radio has been a big part of your life and your career as well. How did you get into it in the first place?
I started off in radio when I was about 17, and I remember being invited along to my local hospital radio station, and I was supposed to go along and sing a couple of country gospel songs for them. And during the interview, they said, "You have a really nice voice for radio. Have you ever thought of doing a radio show?" It never crossed my mind, to be honest, but I found myself working in hospital radio for a couple of years. And then there was a competition advertised by my local station called Radio Tay, and they were looking for a new presenter. And you had to send off, in these days, a tape, a cassette tape, talking about your hometown, which I did. And I got a phone call about 6 months later to say, "You're one of our finalists. Would you like to come up and present your own show?" And that's really how my professional radio career started. And I was at Radio Tay for about 8 years doing various shows. And a few years later, I decided it was time to sort of fly the nest, as they say. And I heard about a station that had opened up in Malta called Radio Calypso. And I thought, that sounds like a good job, working in the sunshine. And I applied to work out there and got the job. And it was very different for me because I was suddenly working on a breakfast show, and getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning was something completely new. And I was more of a night bird, so yeah, that was different. But I got used to it, and I suppose when you've got a nice beach and sunshine waiting for you in the afternoon, it's it was a great sort of social life as well. But like all things, it was coming to an end. I'd done 5 years out in Malta. I'd achieved a lot. But I was doing a lot of singing at that time as well, and I found myself working from 5 in the morning till sometimes midnight, and you can't always keep that going for a long length of time. And I thought maybe now is the time to give singing my full-time attention, and put my radio on hold for a little while. And that's what I did. I moved back to London and signed up with an agency, and I started working on cruise ships, and that's how my singing career started off.
Students from the graphic design department of Fife College designed and produced the artwork for Jackie's album Behind Her Eyes. I was in the studio on some of the days when she was recording the album. Jackie's husband Steve and longtime friend, musician and producer Willie Logan put so much work into making the album the best that it could possibly be. And from a technical point of view, it was a massive challenge.
Because of Jackie's condition, we decided that if we spent time creating the tracks and making them sound as complete as we possibly could, it might get to the point where Jackie was in mid-chemo, or she wasn't well enough, or just too tired to do the vocals. So we made the decision, do it upside down. Instead of waiting till the tracks are finished or in a good state to sing to, we'll get Jackie to sing first. Then we went into the studio, recorded Steve drums. And then we started adding the other instruments from all over the UK and contributors all over the world, as far as Australia. Everything came via the internet back to me, and Steve and me fitted everything back in to the original recording with Jackie and his drums.
Pay my respects to grace and virtue. Send my condolences to good. Give my regards to soul and romance. They always did the best they could. And so long to devotion. You taught me everything I know. Wave goodbye, wish me well. You gotta let me go. Are we human? Or are we dancers?
Well, here we are back at Carnegie Hall on a very special day, because this is our 13th wedding anniversary. And we've come back here for a very special reason. What do you give each other on your 13th wedding anniversary? Well, for the first time here at Carnegie Hall, they have started doing Name a Seat. And with our background in theatre and music, we thought, what a wonderful gift that would be to each other.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen them. We are the first ones up there on the seats. So shall we go and have a look?
Yeah, come on, I'll be excited.
I'm excited
Yeah,
too. Come on then, let's go. They are there. We chose these seats special, row E, 9 and 10. They're going to be our seats for the next 10 years. This is my one. I just feel that it'd be lovely to have something here. So come on then, what does yours say? This is my gift to you.
It says, a forever gift to my loving husband, Steve Theobald. Stay safe and strong in memory of me. It's a line from one of the songs. In fact, it's a song that Steve Black wrote for us. And yeah.
It kind of sums it up, really. The thing I want more than anything is that when something happens to me, that this man here will be safe, and we'll go on to have a happy life and know that I'll always be with him.
But as time moves on, you'll stay safe and strong in memory of me.
I want this album to be something that I can leave behind. Music's been a very, very big part of my life, and it's also been a big part of the life that I've had with Steve. And he's been a rock to me during the last few years since I had cancer. But even before that, he's, been behind my career so much, been such a big part of it. And at this stage now in my life, that I want to feel we're doing this project together, and that when I finally go, he has something of me left behind. And he can remember the memories every day we went into studio and why we chose each song, and remember the making of it, and to hear my voice. And also for my fans. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And there's lots of people waiting on this album. And of course, the proceeds are all going to Maggie's, who have been a wonderful support to myself and Steve. So I wanted to pay something back, and this is the perfect way to do it.
For me, the miracle has already happened. I met her. If something was to change and I lose her, which is not something I particularly want to be thinking about right now, I will always know that she was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I don't want to think about miracles, because I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in miracles in that sense, in divinity and all that kind of stuff like that. If the doctors come along and there happens to be a new trial, a new something or other that works, I suppose you could call that a miracle. But as I said, the real miracle for me is that I got to meet her, and that she got to make my life the best it could ever be.
I know that my time is limited. I still don't know how long I have, but I know the outcome. And a couple of years ago, I remember I wanted to sit down and write my goodbye letters. And Steve and I talked about it, and it was like, it's too soon. You're not there yet, And it was such an enormous thing to actually even contemplate and to think about. But I've now got to that stage in my life where I am with the illness that it could take me any time. And I want to feel prepared. And I have started to write my goodbye letters. And it's one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. How do you say goodbye to the people you love at a time where you're not ready to go? You're not ready to leave this world. And cancer has taken you, it's not your fault. You've done nothing wrong. But I want to feel that I have done my bit, that I have said my goodbyes properly, and that I've left these special words with these special people. And that's what I'm doing right now. And that is really, really hard. The enormity of thinking that I'm going to die and that I'm not going to be here maybe next year at this time, it's just surreal. It's too much to take in sometimes. But I've got the opportunity to do it. And for that I'm grateful, because these people will be left with something that has come from me, from my heart, at a time when I really want to tell them how much I love them. And I don't want to be taken away from them.
Jackie was a singer, a songwriter, a radio presenter, but most of all, a loyal friend. She travelled all around the world, but never forgot her roots. Watching her meet the challenges of cancer and making the most out of every day, I for one was inspired by her, and I'm sure she inspired many others. Despite cancer, hers was a life well lived.
It's a beautiful night. I know that it's all mine. Sky is darker than it's ever been. Stars are brighter than I've ever seen. And this must be what love is. A moment out of time. And if I say goodbye to you and years go by, this will be true. Tell me everything's alright. It's a beautiful night. Now there's a quarter moon smiling down on me. Yesterday has been and gone. I know tomorrow will never come. You see, I pray the clocks don't move. This is all I want from you. And when you turn away and laugh, I wish we were a photograph. Tell me everything's alright. It's a beautiful night. Stars never shone so bright. It's a beautiful, beautiful, it's a beautiful night. Two lonely people haunted by the past, afraid of letting go, still holding on to yesterday instead of for today. Now it's time to trust our heart again, let it lead the way. So come, let me love you. Let's take it nice and slow. Let me hold you, touch you like no one has before. Take me in your arms. Let's hold each other tight. Don't look back, the future's ours tonight. I've cried my tears, you've held on to your pain for much too long. It's time to love again, and someday soon we might just realize love you. Let's take it nice and slow. Let me hold you, touch you like no one has before. Take me in your arms. Let's hold each other tight. Don't look back, the future's ours tonight. So come, let me love you. Let's take it nice and slow. Let me hold you, touch you like no one has before. Take me in your arms. Let's hold each other tight. Don't look back, the future's ours tonight. Don't look back, the future's ours